Hey folks, happy Monday. It's 9 p.m. here in London. I didn't expect to make this video actually, but I received this comic this morning and I finished work and read it over 30 minutes or so and really enjoyed it. So I had some time tonight. Usually I do kind of videos Wednesday and Sunday, but if I can get this uploaded tonight, then I will. Today we're having a look at Crossover by Donny Cate, who's the writer, and Geoff Shaw, along with Dee Cunniffe. It was actually, this particular issue, number one, was published in November 2020, so I'm a little behind the times with this, and kind of caught on a bit late to it. I guess it was just such a busy year that I didn't get round to it. But I do want to catch up with this, and I've been really excited to read it. One of the reasons is because before I knew anything about the storyline, I was just totally captured by this particular front cover. I think it looks really magnificent. It's so beautifully coloured, and as you kind of peer into it more, it has some really nice kind of nostalgic elements about it. So you've got, I guess maybe it's a child on the floor reading a comic, and he's got his kind of action figures down at the bottom with his pile of comic books and some other toys. And I really love this kind of splash of colour across the page. As we learn throughout the story, it's because the elements within this particular comic are kind of coming alive. But I did kind of look at it before I knew the story and kind of felt that it was almost saying that, the the comic was kind of mind blown in a way. So I really like that idea. I'll give you a quick overview. There's actually, compared to like some other comics that I have covered maybe in the past couple of weeks, there's quite a lot to talk about in this. So I'm going to try and cover it very briefly. But let's see how long it takes, because sometimes I go off on a rant. The kind of first page opens up as if we're reading a particular comic with a kind of narration over the top, but we very quickly in the panels after that, we kind of see the kind of panels zoom out, and this particular comic here, comic panel at the top, is actually what the character in the book is reading themselves. And we're kind of introduced to a narration here, which I kind of found a bit cringe-worthy to read, but as I kind of worked through the book, I think that might be done on purpose, and I'm supposed to laugh at it, because I did genuinely laugh at some of the kind of elements in this comic, but at this point, I'm not sure if I'm supposed to be laughing or not, or it's meant to be a kind of parody in some sense. We'll see. I'm kind of going to be embarrassed if I'm wrong about that, but that's my kind of honest feeling at the moment. But the first panel basically asks, who is basically asking who's more real, humans or superheroes in a comic. And the point is trying to make is that, humans eventually die. They don't make all that much impact to the world, but something like a comic, or the characters within a comic, live forever in some sense. And it's trying to make the point that, well, maybe that makes, these characters in a book more real than us or humans. I'm really not sure if that was trying to be profound or not. I felt like there was like a bit of tongue-in-cheek with it, so I'm going to go with that for now. Anyway, we kind of like move on with the story, and we find ourselves in Denver, Colorado in 2017. And basically what has happened is that there's comic characters, or the comic world in the comic has kind of come alive, and these characters have basically started fighting each other, I think, in the middle of Denver, Colorado. Really like this kind of particular page, this splash. Had a really kind of nice retro feel. And I think that might give us a flavour for some of the characters maybe that we meet later on. So if we do eventually meet these kind of superheroes that have been released, I think that they're going to be, older comics or older comic book characters. This particular panel was a lot of fun. I guess it's the news cycle that first appeared when, this terrible event happened with the comic characters coming to life. And it's kind of chaotic, and I really like that. I really enjoyed looking through each of these panels, and the panels, you can see they're kind of like split into like televisions and phones and like iPads and that kind of thing. So I think it kind of really captured the kind of the chaos of it all. So then we kind of fast forward. I believe the year is supposed to be about the year 2022. And this is where we were first introduced to a woman called Ellipsis. So if you can imagine that these comic book characters have been released and they're causing havoc in this particular city, there's going to be a lot of hate towards that. And I think that this particular character isn't, a superhero. She's just somebody who enjoys comic books, and she kind of stands up to the idea that superheroes should be hated, and continues to wear what looks like some kind of cosplay. So she's wearing this mask and, doesn't want to take it off. I found that her name and the way they actually introduce her name is being quite funny. So they said her name is Ellipsis Howell. She goes by Ellie. And the writer says, and yeah, Ellipsis is a weird name. Her parents, they were both writers, and they thought it sounded kind of heroic, like some kind of Greek hero or something. It goes on to say that Ellipsis is the great unknown. Her mother would tell her those three little dots. And then we see that those three dots are kind of portrayed in that actual panel. I laughed at that. I think it's supposed to be funny, but yeah, let's see. This panel was like really weird. It was it says God hates masks, so I guess that's in reference to the people that hate superheroes who, of course, wear masks, and the people who support superheroes who like this woman who's wearing a mask. The problem is that this was released in 2020, the year of the pandemic. I kind of hope that it's not trying. I hope they're completely unrelated, and that this particular panel isn't some kind of social commentary on masks. I think I've seen some other comments and other YouTube videos comment on this as well, but I'm going to overlook it because I would rather not think about that kind of thing. Anyway, what happens is that she ends up in this comic book store, which I guess she works in, and we're introduced to this quite a character. He's the local comic book store owner, and he's a kind of rude guy to come across. He's kind of arguing with a customer in the opening scene, and it's quite funny because he's wearing this Verham was right t-shirt. So I actually looked this up because I didn't know too much about it, and Frederick Verham was a researcher, probably who did his research maybe about 80 years ago, I can't remember. And his research was on the influence of comics on the development of children. So what we learn about this t-shirt that the comic book store owner is wearing is that he's kind of wearing it ironically, and also in reference to what happened in 2017 with these kind of comic book characters coming alive and causing chaos around the city. I'm going to kind of skip forward because we're kind of running out of time, but what happens next is the store owner kind of spots a boy possibly stealing a comic. But the big twist is that the boy, or it could be a girl, I'm not sure, who's stealing the comic is actually one of the comic book characters who's escaped from the situation in Denver, where all the superheroes are fighting, so everybody's completely terrified. Oh, by the way, something really important here that I've completely missed is that to contain all this violence of the superheroes that are wreaking havoc, they decide to build like a force field around the city. I don't know if that's what that is, or it's, let me see if I can find an example. Yeah, you can see that there in the distance. So basically the city has been contained within this force field with all the comic book characters and superheroes fighting one another within it. But this boy has kind of escaped it. And so once everybody realises that they've escaped, there's complete chaos, a lot of running about, people asking somebody to call the police. But this is an important point because this is where we seem to be introduced to the second main character, which is Ryan Lowe. And the narrator actually tells us that. So at the beginning of the book, when we're introduced to Ellipsis, we're told that, this story is about her. And then when we get towards the end of the book, we're introduced to Ryan Lowe, and the narrator also says this story is also about him. So then there's a kind of big explosion, and we're left at a cliffhanger over, what is going to happen next. The end scene says, "This is a story," and then you kind of flip the page, and it says, "This is a story about hope." With the childs that they stumbled across in the comic book store, they kind of drew this picture to show them who kind of helped him out of the kind of force field that they've all been put into. And then I thought this was kind of a nice touch. So I think this is the last page. So the last page, they put the ellipsis, and of course leading into the next issue, and also the name of the main character. So there was a lot packed into that. I was kind of rambling on because it was quite difficult as I've just read it, and I'm not really sure how to talk about it that coherently. But look, my overall impression of it is that I enjoyed reading it. It was a lot of fun. I thought the artwork was fun. It was doing something kind of interesting to me, who's not really read like a lot of comics. So maybe things like this exist already, but for me it's kind of new, so it's not a surprise that it's been so popular. It definitely takes the kind of comic book, typical format and is doing something nice with it. I kind of feel that it's one of those books that definitely at the moment I could imagine being picked up by like a TV series, Netflix, Amazon, etc. So if that does happen, yeah, wouldn't surprise me. It's just like everything about it kind of is lined up for a series or two. So anyway, I think that's it from this issue. I'm going to try and cover 2 and 3 and so on as time goes on, and maybe my thoughts on it will change. If you've not read it, definitely pick it up. Pick up the first issue. Usually what I do is pick up the first issue and then kind of try to get a feel as to whether I enjoyed the story or not, and then maybe go out and buy trade paperbacks just because it's cheaper and everything's kind of collected in one go. So I might do that with this one. Let's just see. But I've got like so much other comics to get through. In particular, this one has been covered a lot by others, but I've got Geiger here. I actually ordered it ages ago from Forbidden Planet here in the UK, but for some reason it kind of took a while to get here. So I'm only just getting around to it, but I had to flick through the artwork and it looks totally class. So yeah, looking forward to reading that as well. So anyway, I'll upload this as our Monday video, and maybe in a couple of days I'll try and get through to round to my next video. Okay, enjoy your night and see you next time.